Good morning, everyone. So, what a place we find ourselves in 2022, I should say, facing uncertainty about the future of the place that we all call home. I wish I could have shown you the entire movie. The movie's called 2040. It came out about a year ago. Please go and watch it if you have time. Climate change is a topic that often inspires fear, or despair, or denial, because of its enormous and far-reaching implications. But what I loved most about this movie was really the focus on the incredible reasons that we have for hope, and the focus on working together to change the future, that the outcomes are not inevitable that we see. In my time here with you today, I want to share with you the reasons that I see for hope. But first, I'll say thank you very much indeed to Ashley and Amanda for that wonderful introduction. As I said, I'll be talking about finger painting and cats later. But mostly, I'm going to talk about sustainability this morning. Before we embrace hope, though, I want to take a little step back for a reality check. Our carbon emissions are not getting better. We continue to break new records, and these are not the sort of records that we want to set. Carbon emissions are having a massive impact everywhere, from floods to water and food insecurity, to wildfires. And in the future, unless we act, scarcity of resources caused by climate change are going to become an increasing source of conflict and war. It's a new reality that I think we're all really struggling to come to terms with. And even with the commitments that have been made globally, we're not making progress fast enough. But as the film said, there are some incredible reasons for hope. Solutions do exist to these problems, and the architects of the future are searching for them. They want to embrace the best of what exists today and apply those tools to the challenges that we face to make a difference. The movie shows some incredibly creative solutions, ranging from smart grid to water conservation to carbon sequestration, driven by some of the brightest minds we have on the planet. Inspired problem solvers using technologies like LoRaWAN to enable a better future. So what's your vision for 2040? And when you watch the film, you'll see this as a constant thread. It's about a man, the presenter you see, and his daughter Velvet, and imagining her future life if all of the solutions that we have at our disposal are actually used and implemented. And through the film, the question is asked, what do we want 2040 to be? How do we want to shape it? How do we want to be active in forming this future rather than passive in accepting the outcomes that otherwise are going to come our way? Our vision is the wide-scale adoption of IoT solutions that use the capabilities of LoRaWAN and other technologies to protect our precious natural resources. How many sensors, how many solutions does that involve? Well, it needs to be a lot to drive the sort of change that we need to see. So let's say 1 billion to start with. That's a nice big number. Deployed to protect our planet, to monitor water consumption, energy consumption, supply chains, farms that grow the food we eat, and the oceans that sustain us. Enabling the intelligent use of the bounty of assets that the Earth has provided for us. I want us all to be part of telling that story, moving from fear about the future to a new story about the hope we can provide, the action that we can take, to deliver a new chapter, a new future for 2040, for 2050, and beyond. And we really cannot wait. The time really is now. Recent estimates show that climate change is not slowing down. It's accelerating, and it's accelerating quickly. Concentrations of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere in May 2022 were 50% higher than during the pre-industrial era, 50% higher, reaching levels not seen for 4 million years, passing a threshold of 420 parts per million. And that's a very important threshold, because at that point, things start to become very hard to address without radical action. And just to put that number in a little bit more context, we need that carbon dioxide level to be closer to 300 to 350 parts per million, which is the range that enabled us to flourish in the first place, for humanity to exist, for the planet Earth to be able to provide the resources that we needed to survive. And I'll leave you this on this slide. Just think of this. 9 of the hottest years on record, in human record, have happened in the last 10 years. And if that's not a call for action, I'm not sure what is. So how do we balance competing goals? The drive for productivity to support the growing population of the Earth, which again, like climate change, is showing no signs of slowing down. And economic goals, like increasing profitability, with the environmental goal of producing more from less. And Donna touched on this. If you think about climate change and how to address it, there are really 2 approaches. One is a regulatory approach, which has a very important part to play. But regulation alone is unlikely to deliver the sorts of changes that we need. If we can align the interests of business and the way that enterprises naturally behave with the goal of increasing sustainability, then we really can drive a model where we produce more from less, which is, at the end of the day, the founding principle of the way that most commercial societies and enterprises work. The Internet of Things is the answer. I mean, there's no 2 ways about it. Using data to make better choices that enable us to support intelligent growth and address the drivers of climate change at the same time, that's what the IoT really exists to do. It's putting data in the hands of producers to make them more efficient. And in producing more from less, it's the less part that's the important. Less resources, less energy, less water, less pollution. And so how does LoRaWAN make a difference? Again, Donna, I think, summed up very nicely this morning the role that LoRaWAN is playing in enabling some of these solutions. But let's be clear, it's an enabler, it's not the solution. LoRaWAN makes the IoT possible. It makes it possible for companies and consumers and governments to access data. Data that was too expensive or too difficult to capture, analyze, and utilize with traditional connectivity technologies. And putting that data into the hands of enterprises, governments, consumers, to maximize our chances of combating global warming. And the IoT really is a game changer for sustainability. As you'll see when you walk through the exhibit floor, thanks to the creativity of the LoRaWAN ecosystem, many of the solutions that we need are actually available today. And they've been around for a while. And yet, we haven't seen the full-scale adoption, though that's now beginning. Driving the availability of clean and sustainable energy that consumers can afford, reducing the environmental impact of production and distribution processes, enabling smart cities that are more sustainable, more efficient, more equitable, and more livable today and into the future, and helping us achieve what the UN set out in its 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, ratified by member states in 2015 in what I have to say was a rare example of international cooperation around this critically important topic, providing a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people around the planet now and into the future, and captured in 17 Sustainable Development Goals that cover health, equality, sustainability, and above all, action to address climate change. So let's step back for a moment and remind ourselves of the tools that we have in our disposal today. Again, you'll see them on display in the exhibit hall. LoRaWAN is a technology born of an ecosystem. This ecosystem, a rapidly growing community that spans hardware to cloud, enterprise to consumer, all using the unique capabilities of LoRaWAN to develop IoT solutions that drive change. And as I said, LoRaWAN is an enabler that makes possible solutions that previously were extremely difficult to deliver. It has the range needed to connect sensors over long distances, enough to reach the most remote corner of a farm or of a supply chain, and to reach deep inside buildings. Low power to enable sensors to operate for a decade or more on a single battery, something that wasn't possible before. A multi-use, multi-tenant, and most importantly of all, open business model, which enables rapid scaling of solutions that use the same network infrastructure and a very dynamic mix of public and private network models working together to transmit data to the applications that drive value. A cost-effective way of connecting everything. And this is the thing that's been missing in the IoT. For many years, we've had excellent communication techniques for extracting high bandwidth data from high value assets, where money really wasn't the object and power wasn't really the object. But the cost-effective way of connecting everything is really critical when it comes to sustainable applications, because it's understanding every corner of the farm, or the location of every asset, or the performance of every water meter that's important when it comes to designing an application that can deliver a system-level solution. If you can't generate data from every asset, you're always flying blind, you're always guessing. And the promise of the IoT is to take the guesswork away, after all. And that's powered by minimal infrastructure, low-cost end nodes, and again, most importantly of all, a vibrant open-source ecosystem of developers and application and solution providers to speed development. And thanks to the LoRa Alliance, a standards-driven plug-and-play model enabled by a wide ecosystem of providers that gives customers the confidence and choice that they need. One technology that enables an almost endless list of use cases supporting the IoT of today and of tomorrow. So let me share with you some incredible examples of LoRaWAN in action, real-life game changers, real-life environmental heroes. In the UK, smart energy management experts, global associates, use LoRaWAN to monitor building temperature, humidity, air quality, occupancy, energy, and heat. And they deliver a 40% reduction in the amount of gas consumed and a 30% reduction in the amount of electricity consumed in those buildings. And they're now rapidly expanding. Apana, one of the earliest adopters of LoRaWAN, have developed a water management solution that optimizes real-time usage. It drives analytics to find and fix leaks. Now, that in and of itself might sound quite a simple problem, but when you look at the water distribution network, upwards of 40% of water is lost in the distribution network itself. And so, where I live, for example, in Southern California, that water, where it's saved, would dramatically change what has been a severe and prolonged drought that is starting to affect the very agricultural bedrock of the US if it goes unaddressed. IHM Pacific and Andrea Informatic built an energy metering solution using LoRaWAN in Europe and across the Pacific, delivering a 25% reduction in power consumption within the first 3 to 6 months. CityLight provides an innovative lighting management solution for smart cities. And so far, they've automated over 1 million city streetlights, delivering 1.3 billion kilowatt hours of savings across 100 cities they're deployed in today. And if you just think and imagine the impact that that can have as they scale. And there are so many other companies that I can't mention in the time that I have available. I see Ali from Senra down at the front. implementing smart metering solutions in India, delivering the same sorts of savings and the same sorts of efficiencies for consumers. And every single stand you see outside has more examples of this ecosystem delivering applications that deliver real change. It's just amazing. I mean, if you think about what we've achieved as a community over the course of the last 7 to 10 years, it's really quite incredible. And there are just so many more examples, as I said, just like the ones I've given this morning. So what's coming next? You would expect me to cover what's coming next. You would be disappointed if I didn't, representing Semtech as I do. You'll hear and see a lot about that in the next few days. Our goal at Semtech, as members of the LoRaWAN ecosystem, is to ensure that solution providers have access to the tools they need. Simply put, to build the IoT solutions that the world needs. For us, that starts with simplifying the development process. One of the things that's really held up the IoT and adoption of the solutions that the IoT can enable has been sheer complexity. A lot of the time, it's just been too hard for companies, enterprises, governments, consumers to implement the sorts of solutions that have been technically possible for a good long while. And so we're really focusing on making it easier for you to deliver more return more rapidly to the customers that you work with. Reducing development time, which in and of itself is often the biggest cost involved in developing and building and deploying an IoT solution, the sheer process of sticking the jigsaw together and making it work, with easy-to-use software and cloud services, solving common problems like device location, and simplifying provisioning, so that developers can focus on the application that drives value rather than trying to figure out how to make the ingredients work. Supporting the deployment of interoperable LoRaWAN networks everywhere, on Earth and, as Donna mentioned, in space. The first low-power wireless technology to be deployed by commercial satellite providers, now available in Europe and coming to a country near you soon, so that devices can connect anywhere and can roam anywhere. Making it easier for developers who start in the cloud, and that, I think, captures the majority of IoT developers, whose expertise lies in analytics, understanding the data, driving solutions from that data, not in working with embedded technologies. Making it easier for them to use their cloud of choice to develop powerful applications and to integrate those applications with other enterprise data sources. In the IoT, you hear a lot of talk about the IT and the OT. It's the operational data combined with enterprise financial data, for example, that is where the power lies. And if you can make it easier for developers to combine those data sources, again, more solutions, more value, more hope. Working as part of the LoRa Alliance to continually improve the LoRaWAN standard and secure the recognition of important industry bodies like the International Telecoms Union. And of course, ensuring that the silicon that based on LoRa IP that powers LoRaWAN sensors and networks is widely available through different partners and continually improving, delivering even better performance, longer range, and lower power. And so here we are in 2022, facing uncertainty, but with incredible reasons for hope, armed with solutions that, as you'll see today and tomorrow, will help us tackle some of the biggest challenges that we face in addressing climate change. And as a community, working together as part of the LoRa Alliance, I believe that we can turn that hope into reality and build a better future. Because after all, it's not just our future that we're building. So thank you. Enjoy the show. I hope you find as much interest as I do in the many solutions that are available, and I will leave you to your day.